Hello and welcome back to my face and another video. Today we're going to be doing the ShPTK TVP-100 Tier 8 Czechoslovakian TD, the only Tier 8 Czechoslovakian TD and the only Czechoslovakian TD in the game so far anyway. It's a very, very good tank. I'm going to say that from the off, okay? This replay, played by Dr. Aguni, is going to show you what this thing can do in a very nice matchup if played correctly. This is another tank very similar to my last video, the CS63, which if you haven't seen, go watch. It's a brilliant video. It's very similar in the sense of it has a specific play style and you have to kind of respect that. Don't expect it to be like a Chieftain, a 279, where you can take it to a ridge, sit there and block all manner of shots and just farm. You have to be methodical and you have to have a brain and have map awareness and knowledge of positions and armor, especially with this tank. This thing is incredible because of its HE. And you're going to see that in this game. This thing has some of the best HE, in my opinion, tier for tier, in the game. It is just mental. So let's go into some of the stats. If you were to fire pure HE for a whole minute in this tank, you can get your DPM up to 5,800. That is quite literally the highest DPM in the game, barring, I think, a tortoise firing Hesh. It is insane. You can get 5.8k DPM. You can destroy 2 mouses a minute if you could pen the mouse with HE, obviously. It's insane. And you get 420 HE alpha. You get 900 meters a second shell velocity. It's just incredible. It just works, right? And you're going to see that in this game. But it's not like it's a one-trick pony where you have to fire only HE in this thing. This thing also has incredible heat. We're talking 330 heat pen. That's the same heat pen as an STB1. That's some of the best tier for tier heat pen. Sorry, that's some of the best heat pen on a tier 8 TD. And I would almost class this tank as almost like a medium rather than a TD in the style that you play it. You don't play, yes, you can play it passively. Yes, you can sit in a bush at the back of the map and you can farm. But you can, and I feel like this tank is played best when it's played a little bit more aggressively. You use its DPM, its standard, is awesome. Your 3.5k standard DPM with just AP or heat. You can play a little bit more aggressively and use this thing's DPM to kind of work your way through, rather than just sitting at the back, which I feel is more suited to a higher alpha kind of TD. You know, you do have low alpha. AP alpha, heat alpha is 250, which is low, but then it's made up by that 420 HE alpha, which obviously you need to find something you can pen, because you've only got, like, I think off the top of my head it's 100. Yeah, you've got 100 HE pen. So it's mainly going to be the rear of mediums, sides of some mediums, and the rear and all light tanks that you can pan, and TDs obviously as well. But if you can find something that you can farm with HE, you can pretty much kill a same tier tank in 4 shots, 5 shots. It's pretty ludicrous. So, as you can see here, Dr. Aguni he's had a slow start to the game, right? You know, he's only managed to pick up just 1,000 damage, but he's shown you how to play this tank. I feel he was not too aggressive. You know, he could have pushed in and tried to, you know, he could have pushed into like the E8 area. You know, tried to catch out the Barask and the ELC, but he didn't, because this tank, it's a TD. It has no armor. It only has 1,000 hit points. You don't want to be too aggressive. It's that kind of barrier between knowing what's the right time to push and the right time to sit back and use your camo. And this thing's got really good view range, right? Look, if you set this tank up correctly, I feel like correctly is using vents, rammer, and optics, or you can use optics, rammer, improved aiming. There's a couple of options, and I'm going to show you them at the end of this replay. So that'll be bookmarked at the bottom, so you can skip onto that if you want to right now. So as you can see here, you'll see, cut it out. But you can get up to 450 meters view range, which is, you can spot for yourself. You can sit in a bush and play a light tank role almost if you have 450 meters view range. And I must say, intuition. You cannot and should not and ever must not play this tank without having intuition trained onto your gunner. This thing with intuition is bonkers. It allows you for that quick heat switch to be able to pen a heavy or a TD that you wouldn't be able to pen with AP or HE. It allows you to switch to that HE to farm this somewhere, and this is a prime example of that HE being able to kill the same tier, hit heavy tank in the rear in 4 or 5 shots. Gone. It is mental. 100 HE pen is, it's just so sweet. You'd be amazed as to how thin the armor on some tier 8, even tier 9 heavy tanks, the rear armor, and sometimes even the side turret armor and the rear turret armor is. You can pen it with 100mm. It's quite surprising. You know, we're not talking super heavy. It's like the KV-5 obviously is, it's not going to be pennable, but you're just talking somewhat. Tiger 2 I think can be penned in the rear. T832. You know, there's a lot of tanks that can be penned in the rear with HE. And it's a case of just knowing, that's what I was talking about at the start, knowing armor models, knowing what you can and can't pen. Because this tank has its limitations, but if you play to its strengths, you can really make this thing perform. And I free-marked this a couple of months ago now, actually. I think it was earlier on this year, back in January. And unfortunately, none of my replays would open because I don't have the right client and version installed, so I had to use Dr. Goonies here. But it's just so fun to play. So if this thing ever comes up into the premium shop and you are looking for a new tank at tier 8, a new toy, it's just so good. It's so fun. It's brilliant in front line because you've just got so many people playing mediums like Barask and Progetto in front line. This thing just pens it with HE. You just sit there and pen them for 400 and just laugh. Because that's what it does. You know, that 5.8k HE DPM is, it's just raw DPM. It really is just, it's just unmatched. It just farms. So you can see so far in this like replay some of the strengths of this tank. The definite weaknesses of this tank being, it doesn't have the best camo rating. It's massive. It's tall. So, but it has decent view range. It's shown the HE, shown its heat, shown its intuition, switching from the AP to heat, heat to HE, vice versa. It's speed. This is something that doesn't get spoken about a lot, and I don't really ever see anyone talk about. This thing's not slow. It's a TD, and it goes 55 forwards and 20 back. That's keeping up with mediums of this tier. It's not a slouch at all. It really is quick, and that allows you to play it a little bit more aggressively. You can take that early position and maybe catch out a light tank or an aggressive medium with that HE. You can, especially if you catch out a light. This thing farms EBRs. If you were to get into a tier 10 game and you manage to catch out an EBR who's playing too aggressively, just fire HE. He's dead in 5 shots. 4 shots even. That's what this thing does well. It kind of plays that assassin role, but it doesn't have to just be a pure assassin. It has the ability to play that long range because it's got decent aim time. Like, look, the gun statistics on this tank are not incredible, and you will see it in this game. They're not perfect, but they're definitely better than what I feel like they should be. And if they wanted to, you know, rebalance this tank, which I feel like it might need a little bit of a rebalancing here and there, but it will never happen. You know what wargaming are like. They should probably reduce the gun handling of this tank, make it a little bit worse, just make it a little bit more derpy. It just feels too reliable right now for its high DPM with HE, and even its high DPM with AP and heat, really. So 0.25 dispersion, that's not much worse than an STRV kind of level. You've got 1.25 seconds aim time with, you know, a 4-second reload, so you're aimed a quarter of the time after you've fired. It's mental. And you can see that here, where he's going to spot a tiger here in a second, and he's going to absolutely just highlight what this thing can do if it just sits down and is allowed to farm. And you saw it a little bit with the Sonwar earlier, where he fired the HE. But it just works. And that's something that I find so nice in a tier 8 premium. It works. You know, you've got some really good tier 8 premiums out there, but they're just. I feel like sometimes they're a little bit unreliable. They have to, like, rely on a good matchup, or. You know, this thing can do incredible in a tier 10 matchup, in a tier 9 matchup, in a top tier matchup. It is just so comfy to play. And it prints credits. If you were to fire pure AP and HE in this tank, you're going to make credits, especially if you're running clan boosters and credit boosters. It just works. So I honestly recommend it. And the good thing about this thing is you can run various equipments on it. You know, you can build into its gun handling and absolutely maximize its gun handling. You can even, and it's quite a popular thing to do, build it into like a kind of hybrid scout where you can play it that little bit more aggressively with its good view range and its HE ability to be able to punish lights. And you can run a low noise exhaust, a rammer, and optics. Or vent, optics, low noise exhaust. I've seen people do that. And it's a genuine method to have, I don't know, a damage setup with a rammer, V-stabs, improved aiming, and then run a kind of like a low noise exhaust setup for, you know, if you were to get yourself onto a Prokhorovka. Like, in this match here, Arguini could have ran that setup. I don't quite know what setup he was running. I imagine he's running a rammer here with his low kind of aim time. Or I imagine he's running kind of like a rammer, V-stabs, improved aiming in this match. But a low noise exhaust would have worked just as well. And he'd have been able to advance up the bushes on the kind of like 7 line if he had it. But yeah, I feel like this replay was perfect because it highlighted the strength and the weaknesses of this tank and showed you what you must have and kind of how you can play it. You can play it that aggressively, but you can fall back and you can use it as a traditional TD when needed. You have the speed to be able to rotate. You have the HE to punish people who are too aggressive, and especially if you can get behind people with that HE as well. You saw with the Somwa, you know, being able to just pick him up with HE. It works, right? So honestly, if this thing comes up into the premium shop and you're looking for a new tier 8 premium, pick it up because it's going to be so much fun. You're going to really enjoy it. And if you can master its playstyle, you will do exceptionally well in this thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this kind of how to play it video. It's part of my overall how to play it series. There's plenty of videos if you want to go look through the playlist. You know, my last one was a CS. Prior to that, the T57 Heavy. So don't forget to have a look. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will show you all the equipment and field mods now. So stick around for that. It's all bookmarked at the bottom, so you can kind of skip through to that. And yeah, I will see you all soon. Bye.